So the Conservative MPs are rising up against the lockdown measures, and Owen Jones has a meltdown over Michael Gove's bookshelf. Hello everyone and welcome to today's Maya's Life, our daily vlog. Before I start, I've seen a lot of comments about this. Just to clarify, it's not actually mine, it came with the flat. I don't really like it myself, so I can't really get rid of it because it's just there. And yeah, so stop commenting. I know it's terrible. So the latest we have from the Conservative Party in Parliament is that a number of senior MPs are now rebelling against the lockdown measures. They still supported and are supporting the idea of social distancing and how necessary all this actually is. But they're also worried about the economic shutdown and the consequences. One of these MPs is Steve Baker, who has written in the Telegraph saying that Boris Johnson must end the absurd, dystopian and tyrannical lockdown. And that's a fair point. That's one issue when it comes to new powers with no accountability. We didn't actually have any new laws in place, and the police were going around and enforcing something that wasn't actually there. Now, I do have great news. Tomorrow, and tomorrow's video, we're going to have a special guest. We're going to have Steve Baker himself joining us to talk about all this. But going back to his article, obviously, make sure to tune in tomorrow to watch the full interview. And he can explain the whole thing better than me at this point. But going back to the article, Steve said that as I conceded on the 23rd of March, there were good reasons for ministers to take rapid action. The public would expect nothing less. The first responsibility of any government is to protect the lives of its people, and faced with the uncertainty of this awful virus, the instruction for us all to stay at home to save lives was the right call. But this suspension of freedom comes with a cost too. Millions of people in our country have been plunged into idleness at public expense and unemployment, facing financial and psychological hardship on a scale never seen before. Thousands of people have missed life-prolonging health appointments. Vulnerable people are isolated and domestic violence has soared. These extraordinary measures require not only legal authority, but democratic consent. There is a real possibility that they have had neither. And that's the biggest point, because there is as we've said, there is a massive consensus in the country right now. The majority of people are now in favor of the lockdown, primarily because they are afraid of a second wave. They're just afraid of going back to work because the government and the media have scared them all. That's exactly why. And but whilst we have to be careful with social distancing measures, at the same time, you know, all of our lives have been affected by this, and there are a lot of people, vulnerable people, who are losing everything that they have, whether economically, financially, or mentally and psychologically. Steve is also talking about scrutinizing the government. He says that if Parliament is able to scrutinize the lockdown restrictions on Monday, which is today, we must see the government's detailed exit strategy. Parliamentarians and the public need more than vague assurances to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, frankly, Steve Baker is not the only person. You got Sir Graham Brady, Sir Charles Walker, Robert Courts, and there are many other Conservative MPs who have raised concerns about this whole situation, and they are now going to be pushing the government to do something about this. We've had Sir Graham Brady saying that it's an opportunity to raise some concerns about the excessive restrictions. He said that essentially we gave the government huge powers over Britain's everyday lives, and he wanted assurances that they would be used proportionately. And again, Charles Walker, Robert Courts and others have also said that we are supportive of the government overall, but at the same time they need to be careful about the consequences. And it's a fair point. To be fair, they're not the only people. It's not just the backbenchers who are doing this. Actual cabinet ministers, senior cabinet ministers, are also raising concern. These are people like Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, and Liz Truss. Yes, a number of senior ministers have been warning that other countries coming out of the lockdown first will give them a competitive advantage over Britain. Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss have highlighted the effects the lockdown could have on trade. So one Whitehall source, for example, has said that if other countries begin to come out of the lockdown, they will start trading with each other and, you know, a lot more freely than us. Right, I've come to sit down for a minute, but I can't really stay here too long because the police might come and arrest me or something. They've been warning me every day. So this is the whole situation. Also, I just remembered today is the 4th of May, which means I can say May the 4th be with you. And and my favorite meme of today is the Star Wars one. Come to the dark side. We have masks, and they're right. Now let's talk about something else. They're lefties, people like Owen Jones, because they are having a meltdown again. So yesterday, Michael Gove was giving his daily briefing, and his wife, Sarah Vine, was at home, and she tweeted a picture of their bookshelf, because everyone's now obsessed with bookshelves because of the video conference calls and everything. And there were a lot of books, a lot of conservative books, a lot of socialist books, and there were also a lot of books that are controversial, hard right, hard left, conspiracy theories. And Owen Jones went crazy, and then some of the left-wing activists also basically criticized Sarah Vine and Michael Gove and accused them of promoting and defending hard right ideologies just because they had those books. Yeah, so this is this is the tweet that Sarah Vine said: "As a very special treat for my trolls and Alistair Campbell, here is another bookshelf. There are about 20 more. Enjoy." Now, the biggest problem with this is that Alistair Campbell, Owen Jones claim to be intellectuals. I know. And but this is proving everything that we've been saying for years and years about the left, and how they are not tolerant to the opposite views. In reality, in life, if you want to be open-minded, if you want to learn everything, you need to be open to the opposite side. You need to listen to the other arguments. Otherwise, you won't know your enemy, at least on that level. So the fact that they say, you shouldn't read books about certain topics, why? We need to learn about everything in order to know what we're talking about. Okay, I've just had the police literally telling me to move on, even though I was literally here. There's no one around. No one around. It's not like I was, spreading my disease or anything, which I don't have. But yeah, it's getting absolutely ridiculous how, if you're in the middle of nowhere, and I'm at this point, I think I'm kind of lost in somewhere in Hyde Park. I don't know my way out. You're not really a threat to anyone. Let people live their lives. If the masses come out and do a national picnic and they all sit next to each other, fine, go tell them off. But I was just sitting for like 2 minutes, and they told me I can't really do that, so I've now moved on. Right, I think they've now left me to bother someone else who was sitting on a bench just outside the park. That's fine, because it's now time to answer questions that we get from our members once a week, every Sunday and Monday. So let's go back to the flat and I'll answer your questions. Right, as you know, once a week, members of this channel can submit questions and I'll answer them directly. There's a lot of questions we received this week. If you want to become a member after this video, check out the link in the description, or just go on your browser and type in youtube.com/myotc/join, and then check out the details if you want to support us. That'll be great. Now, let's go to Daniel. He says, "Hi Maya, when will we see you on Good Morning Britain to have a massive debate with Piers Morgan about the current situation and the negativity from the mainstream media? I have challenged him a number of times. I don't think he's brave enough to take me on." So no invitations just yet. Christopher Waters. "Hi Maya, I'm a new member. Thank you. Thanks for the support. The current stream of illegal immigrants coming into the UK is out of control. Do you believe that Priti Patel will be able to cut the rope and end this practice?" I do actually believe that Priti will at least do the best that she can. I don't think she's your typical Home Secretary to be complacent or not care. There are a lot of issues that needs to be fixed around the civil service and the Home Office and the border control. But if there's anyone who could actually do something about this, is Priti Patel, because we definitely need to end this practice of illegal migration into this country. James, how are the trade talks progressing with the US? And do we think we will have a deal in place before Trump leaves the office? Well, it depends when Trump leaves. I think Trump's going to win the re-election anyway. So, so they are officially starting the formal talks. They've done the first stage, which was more informal. They've had the talks. They've agreed to the initial foundation of what the talks are supposed to be on. And I think, it shouldn't really take that long. I'll give it, the average is about 2 years between countries, individual countries, but might take about 3 or 4 years or whatever. But I think there will be a skeleton version of a trade deal first, for some goods and products and everything, and then we'll move on to everything else. So, Jonathan, what are your thoughts on electric vehicles? With all the extra power that's being produced is nuclear. What about recycling the lithium batteries and the mining that exploits that labor? Yeah, so it says that all the alternative version, hydrogen, could be cleaner. Well, I'm a free marketeer, and I believe every option has to be presented. It should be based on consumer choice, as long as something is not completely harmful to society, because people should be able to do whatever they want in society as long as they don't harm anyone else. That's all that matters. So I'm absolutely fine with the traditional diesel and any kind of electric vehicles based on nuclear or fusion or anything else, as long as consumers have choice. Get the politicians and governments out of this whole thing. It's not their responsibility. Naylor says, do you know why unpaid carers have been forgotten in this crisis? We are a big group of about 3 million caring for the elderly to keep them out of hospitals and care homes, but have had no support whatsoever. No PPE, no help. Do you think the government have forgotten about us? Well, I'm sorry to hear about that. It goes back to what I always say. It's because governments, by nature, generally, are terrible. It's nothing to do with the actual politicians of, there is a left-wing party or a right-wing party or any of that. Government, in terms of the structure and everything, is so bureaucratic that this happens. They become careless because they can't. It's so big, the whole system, that you're not really getting any support because of this. And it's a shame, because we always say that in a society like Britain, where we're not really a libertarian society, we still have safety nets, we still have minimum support for people, the vulnerable and those who actually need help, and certain sectors and industries and professions need to be supported, especially at this time, but they're not. And so I fully support what you say, and it's a shame that they seem to be forgetting certain groups. Liam says that with the continuing impact of this whole situation, do you think that there is a need for the government to continue with projects like HS2 and other big expensive projects? No, shut them down. Stop it. Stop HS2. Stop everything that's gonna be idiotic. Regardless of this situation, you should just get rid of things like HS2 anyway. I've mentioned the alternative on this channel so many times, so if you're new, check out my previous videos about this. There are other alternatives that we can do cheaper and more efficient. So get rid of it. So this is all the questions we have. There are a lot of more questions, and I'm going to leave them for next week. As I mentioned, if you want to support this channel, become a member, check out the link in the description. And tomorrow, don't forget, we have Steve Baker on the channel, one of the top Libertarian Conservative MPs in Parliament. He's going to be talking about what we mentioned earlier, the whole lockdown situation. And if you haven't seen the video we did earlier today at 5:45 p.m. with Anna Diamond, she was a political prisoner who has a very interesting story when she was in a political prison in Iran. So make sure to check that out as well. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe and click on that bell next to it so you get notified. We have a daily show at 5:45 p.m. and a daily vlog at 8 p.m. I'm Tousi. I'll see you guys tomorrow with a new video.